Alright, I think we have quite a few objects in our scene now that maybe we can start throwing in some materials. You might remember that we also imported a surface from Megascans, the bronze material, so I want to grab that and throw it onto the sphere in the background. Now, this doesn't look like a metallic surface at all. In order to change that, just double-click on the bronze and go to metallic and turn that on. Now Unreal will actually interpret the surface correctly. Before we move on, I just want to briefly talk about a few aspects when it comes to materials in Unreal Engine. For example, the material we just opened is actually a material instance, which means it refers to a parent material and gives you the ability to expose a certain amount of parameters that you want to have quick access to. So in the case of this material, which was created by Megascans, you have access to properties like tiling, you can tint the albedo, metallic, roughness, normal, specular, and so on. The big advantage of a material instance is that it doesn't need to be compiled. So whatever we change inside this editor here will be visible in the viewport instantaneously. Let's play around with the roughness intensity, and as you can see in the background, it happens in the viewport as it happens in this preview here. As mentioned just now, a material instance references a parent material, which in this case is the Megascans master material. If you double click on this, you can get a bit of an impression of how a material looks like in Unreal Engine. But I'd highly advise you not to change anything in here right now, because this is the Megascans master material, and if you mess this up, you might mess up all the Megascans assets that you have imported earlier. Let's create a few of our own custom materials. And in order to do that, just right-click into the content browser, choose material, give it a very significant name, double-click, and we will land in the material editor that we looked at just a few seconds ago. Now I want to feed in a color into the base color slot, and in order to create a color node, I hold down 3 and double-click. This will create a constant 3 vector, which in this instance we are using as a color. Connect it to the base color slot, and double-clicking on the node will open this dialog where you can choose a color that you like. Now I'm doing a similar shortcut by holding down 1 and double-clicking. That will create a constant. And we will connect that to the roughness slot of our material. Press apply, save, and grab the material and throw it onto this inverted sphere. This looks rather dark, but keep in mind we are using a geometry as a background, so it does react to the light in the scene. For example, if I crank up the skylight, it will also increase the color of the background. If you want a plain background color, you could just go ahead and connect that color node to the emissive color slot, apply that, and now the background will basically become self-illuminating and will not interact with the lighting of the scene. I want to create another material that we can use as a color for those tubes we have in the background. And again, it's the same process. Press 3 to create a color. Press 1 to create constants that you can feed into the other parameters. And as previously, you can just apply the material by dragging and dropping onto the objects. So by now you should have a very rough idea on how to import objects into Unreal Engine, how to create very basic materials, how to access the Megascans library using Quixel Bridge, and also how to drop in a few lights and just light the scene in a very basic sort of layout.